I drink. I drink because I am recovering from seeing The Batman. What a depressing movie. Was it a good movie? If you're into depression and melancholy, this is unquestionably one of the best depression-ridden movies, dark movies that I've seen that purports to have a superhero in it. Yes. I will cut to the chase. I'm going to be giving spoilers. This is a spoiler review for The Batman, so please, please, please go see The Batman. It is a movie worth watching. It's not my cup of tea. But for what it is, for being a very dark movie and for the themes that it dealt with, even though it's very, very dark, I can understand why some people really love the movie. I was very disappointed with it, and I'm going to go through the reasons why. And, well, let's just cut right to it, shall we? First of all, I will play some very depressing music in the background because this movie is extremely depressing. And there's really no way to sugarcoat it. So the first thing I want to say about this movie is that this movie did not have any ego in it. Darwin Cook's ego, Batman's ego, director Matt Reeves talked about how, you know, inspiring people to go out and read comic books, read Batman's ego. There's nothing Batman ego in this. Darwin Cook would be rolling in his grave if he thought that, if somebody tried to suggest to him that this movie had anything to do with Batman ego. It does not. This movie is only Batman. There is no Bruce Wayne in this movie. Bruce Wayne in this movie is identical to Batman in every way, shape, or form. The only difference is Batman wears a suit. As a matter of fact, Bruce Wayne's voice, there are scenes where Bruce Wayne's voice actually sounds like Batman's voice. I mean, it's just very, very one-dimensional in terms of the portrayal of Batman and Bruce Wayne. There is no dichotomy. Now, in defense, I guess with the comic book Batman ego, at least with that, there was the struggle of the dichotomy, but there was the struggle between the darkness and the light, so to speak, and the struggle that Bruce Wayne had, or Batman had, to whether or not to embrace his darkness and to use lethal force against the bad guys. Here, Bruce Wayne here is very much somebody who lives solely for the purposes of fighting the criminal element no matter what, and that's what he wants to do, and he's absolutely hardcore. Everything that he does is literally drowned in it, and it's very, very it's almost frustrating because it's so dark that it makes one almost like cry out for a little bit of levity, a little bit of light. Everything in this movie is dark. I mean, everything is dark. All the characters are the darkest version of Selena Kyle. The darkest. Bruce Wayne is depressing as hell. The Riddler is not the Riddler. Well, let's go through it. First of all, you hear my thing about Bruce Wayne. Okay, Bruce Wayne is Batman, and he lives in a for a guy who's supposed to be a billionaire, part of the elite. He doesn't live like a billionaire. He dresses like a bum. He looks like a bum. He's fairly irresponsible. In fact, that's made very clear. He goes to a funeral. He's basically even told and scolded, "Well, you know, your parents used to do so much for the city. You've done nothing." So he's a loser. He's a billionaire loser. And he talks to himself in his head. And I think that's what Matt Reeves, the director, might think. That's supposed to be why we're thinking of Batman ego. Because he's struggling with himself. He's not really struggling with himself. Although, if it's any consolation, at the end of the movie, after Batman loses to the Riddler, yeah, spoiler alert, Riddler wins. He catches the Riddler, but it's only because Riddler lets himself get caught. The Riddler lets himself get caught, just like in the movie 7, and then he wins, has 7 explosions in the city, floods all of Gotham, thousands of people are killed, and the movie ends with Batman helping somebody onto a stretcher and deciding that he's no longer vengeance anymore. Batman is no longer vengeance anymore. And I'm thinking to myself, don't we want Batman to be vengeance? I mean, isn't that what this is all about? I mean, I want Batman to be vengeance. That cool scene at the beginning where he's kicking the shit out of the bad guys, or in the preview you saw, you know, I am vengeance. That was cool. But then he abandons vengeance because one of Riddler's henchmen at the end, after he's done beating him up, Batman asks him who he is, and the henchman says to him, I am vengeance. And because a bad guy said, I am vengeance, when Batman used to say, I am vengeance, oh my God. And through the movie, even Catwoman calls him Vengeance as his nickname. Various people call him Mr. Vengeance, and Vengeance is his nickname. At the end, well, apparently, since all the bad guys, some bad guys now are saying, I am vengeance, because a bad guy says the same thing, that was the eye-opening experience for him, this big revelation. It was an awful scene. It didn't play out well at all. It was at the end, and which leads into another problem at the big fight scene. The fight scenes in this movie are, let me put it to you this way. The fight scenes are visceral, and you see the anger and visceralness of the fight scenes in terms of his anger. But what you don't see is they're not particularly graceful, and I'm sure that's by design. However, I'm sorry, and this is my rant on the fight scenes. This is Batman year 2. It's made clear this is Batman. This is in year 2 of him being Batman. He should be an absolutely kick-ass fighter. He should be able to be kicking ass and taking names. This is not an inexperienced Batman. And I want to, you know, these people out there, and maybe it's because they don't read enough comic books, and I'm a comic book geek, so just bear with me, but Batman at year 2 is still one of the greatest fighters in the world. This idea that somehow nobody can hold a candle to Batman in the Gotham City underworld, or just street punks fighting. Nobody can. Nobody can. Screw this nonsense of making him human. It still possesses verisimilitude if he kicks ass and always wins in a fight. He's Batman. He should. But I mean, and he wins all the fights here. But just doesn't work. He should still possess grace. This is a guy who's Bruce Wayne before he started out as Batman. There's all kinds of things that we assume as watchers of this movie. We assume that he's been trained to be a great fighter. We assume that going in. And this is year 2. And he does have a lot of experience. We see all the experience on his back. There's a scene where Patterson shoots his back. It's riddled with scars. Okay, well, let's see okay, that's awesome. I'm assuming you know how to fight then. I'm assuming you should be able to kick some ass. Fight scenes were, in my view, mediocre at best. The cinematography was great in the fight scenes. You know, with machine gun fire, darkness, flashes of light with the machine gun fire. Batman shows up, kicks the bad guys, knocks them out. They were cool. Visually, cinematography-wise, visually, how this was filmed, it was gorgeous. It was a beautiful film. But I expect that. I'm sorry, but it needs to be more than a beautifully crafted film. It's the story. The fight scenes have to be spectacular. Spectacular. Not mediocre, not subpar, not very good. Spectacular. They need to be the best in the industry. Up until this point, the Ben Affleck warehouse scene in Batman v Superman is the metric upon which to judge all Batman fight scenes, period. Nothing, absolutely nothing in this movie came close to a Batman level fight scene that was worthy of the character. Nothing. And that's what was so disappointing about the fight scenes. I'm sorry, but if you like this movie and you thought the fight scenes were good, you got low standards, straight up, because Batman is better than you think he is. I mean, this is appalling. It's shameful, the lack of fight scenes in this movie and the lack of the skill shown by Batman in the fight scenes. There should have been more of a kinetic grace to it. Angry or not, I am vengeance. You know, he's a young, experienced Batman. No, he's not. He's not. He's not. He's not. He's a super experienced fighter. So it's not an excuse to say that, well, this is just Batman year 2. You got to understand that. No, use your brain. Think about it for 1 second. Think about the best fighters in the world. You just became the best fighter in the world. You've gone through all this training. You've had 2 years of combat. You think you're inexperienced? Please, wake up. You're not. You're still the best in the world, and it should have reflected more. Now, there's another thing. Everyone's talking about the detective. His detective work. Oh my God. The good news about this movie, and I'm sorry, but I gotta say this. The detective work in this movie. Wow. Is any school grader challenged by the so-called riddles in this movie? I can't imagine anybody was baffled by it. You know, there was like some code work or some ciphers that had to be done, and Alfred did most of the work anyway. It wasn't even so. I don't know where people are watching this movie and they're seeing this intelligent Batman. I'm thinking, did you guys watch a different movie? I'm serious, because he walks slowly. I mean, Batman, he walks slowly in every crime scene. All the cops are kind of like, they resent him to hate him. Gordon is completely useless. He kind of walks around and just sort of talks and swears and utters the word Jesus every now and then at all this horrific stuff, because everything's so goddamn depressing. I mean, the car, don't even get started on the car. The car is awesome. I just wish we'd actually seen it more in the movie. The car scene, we barely see the car. Even in the car scene, where Penguin, we see Penguin's face, close up of Penguin's face, close up of Batman's face. You know, snap, long view of the car, but if you blink, you'll miss it. There's like maybe a 2 or 3 second window where you get to see the whole car in all its glory. It's just not near good enough. It's not near good enough. All the scenes that needed to impact did not hit as hard as they could have. I'm sorry. This movie was not good enough. It wasn't good enough for a Batman movie, and it was so goddamn long. I was sitting there in the movie, and I finally, I thought, oh God, here we go. It's finally over. I get up and I look, and I realize there's still 40 minutes left in the movie. And then it occurred to me, oh my God, he hasn't caught Riddler yet. And then I shit you not, 2 minutes later, the Riddler surrenders. And you all saw it on the previews. He surrenders. This movie is simply from a storytelling point of view. I don't think this is I think the story is not very. I don't like the story. It's not very well put together. The motivation of the Riddler is just. It was crazy. I didn't buy it. I didn't buy it. And sadly, the Riddler also was a character where, and I'm not on the bandwagon. No one in this particular movie has stellar performances. No, guys, the Penguin is he's just, guess what? The Penguin is not that particularly impressive as a character here at all. He's just another mobster. I don't know where people are thinking that the Penguin comes off. Oh my God, the actor who plays him, Colin Farrell, is so amazing. No, he's not. He really isn't. He's just another mobster. I mean, sure, give the makeup guy some props, but the acting was average. And he's barely in the movie anyway. Again, I don't understand what people are. And then Riddler, this ridiculous looking suit, which is never justified. He's wearing a green rubber. He looks like a green condom walking around with glasses. Like, I mean, what? This movie is so stupid. I'm sorry, and relentlessly freaking dark. Even Alfred, for Christ's sake, Alfred. I mean, I got news for you. I mean, even Alfred doesn't smile in this movie. I mean, Bruce Wayne, okay, you can say, well, I guess I can understand Bruce Wayne not smiling, because Bruce Wayne is really Batman. And as I said before, there's no dichotomy here. There's no dichotomy. There's no difference between Bruce Wayne and Batman. So right away, you got a violation of the essential mythos of Batman. Without the Bruce Wayne Batman dichotomy, it's not Batman. This movie's not Batman. It's not. It's somebody who has the same origin, the same formative events upon which he became a crusader against crime, but this is not Batman. It's not my Batman. Now, Catwoman's hot. Hey, Zoe Kravitz, what's not to like? There's only one criteria you need for a Catwoman, and that is a hot woman. That's all you need. Zoe Kravitz, she's hot. She works. Her acting, average. Again, average. Nothing stands out about it. It's okay. The story itself, Catwoman is Falcone's daughter. I don't know why they needed to add that in there, but it works. The whole the story, to the extent that the story works, is that, you know, they do a good interplay between saying the two crime bosses, Maroni and Falcone. Thomas Wayne 20 years ago was running for mayor, or 30 years ago was running for mayor, and they found out something about Martha Wayne's family's connected to Arkham Asylum. Martha spent time in an insane asylum, and that would ruin Thomas Wayne's chances of becoming mayor. And Maroni, one of the mob bosses, was funding Thomas Wayne's run for mayor, and Thomas Wayne, in protecting Martha, goes to another mobster. Falcone wanted them to deal with Thomas Elliot, who is a reporter. That's the Hush connection to the storyline. Not much of a story, by the way, not much of a Hush connection. That was misdirection as far as I'm concerned, but that's another story. And in any event, it's revealed that Thomas Wayne may have had a role in the death of the murder of a reporter, but apparently Thomas Wayne did not, in fact, tell Falcone to murder Thomas Elliot. He did that of his own initiative. And then Maroni got concerned that Thomas Wayne might be beholden to Falcone, another mobster. So the suggestion is that, according to Alfred always suspected that Maroni had the Waynes killed. And that's all well and good. Kind of cool. Is it, you know, that's part of the story. I didn't mind that aspects of it. But getting there, the doom and gloom of getting there was just absolutely, it was so relentlessly depressing. It was incredibly. It was just absolutely relentless. I have to say one thing. I'm playing very bad melancholy music in the background as I'm talking here, for the simple reason that this movie has a terrible soundtrack. In fact, within the first 5 to 10 minutes of this movie, I think they play this. It sounded like the Foo Fighters. Out of the blue, they play this god-awful shit song. Out of the blue, within 5 or 10 minutes of the movie, took me right out of the movie. I don't know what the hell Matt Reeves is thinking. What tone are you going for here? Anyways, I just thought everything from the soundtrack to this movie, the tone of this movie, the consistently, relentlessly depressing nature of this movie, just completely, again, it was like, oh my God. But here's the thing, which is a simultaneous compliment, but also an insult at the same time. It was engrossing. It was sort of like watching a train wreck. It's like, oh my God, you know this is headed toward a boring conclusion. You know that you're going to be disappointed watching it. At least that's the way I felt. And guess what? My expectations, they weren't subverted at all. This was as bad a movie as I suspected it would be within the first 10 minutes of watching it. And I went in wanting to love this movie with a bias toward defending this movie against detractors. And wow, I was stunned at how disappointed I was in this movie. Now, I only saw this movie once, and I'm only going to watch it once. I don't understand movie reviewers. These comments. I might change my mind when I watch it a second time. You're gonna watch this a second time? Oh my God! Have a little bit of self-respect. I can't imagine wanting. I don't think I could survive watching this again. Holy moly, this is a depressing movie. But hey, the good thing about this movie is that at least you'll be able to, at some point, just watch YouTube excerpts from it from other YouTubers that'll cut to the chase. Because there's only really 4 or 5 key scenes you need to get for the whole movie. Again, this movie is a solid, full 90 minutes too long. Way too long a movie. And all this stuff, comparisons to Seven and the French Connection and all that. Oh my God. That's why this movie's not good, is precisely because of those comparisons. That's why this movie is not for me at all. Now, full disclosure, I wasn't a fan of the Nolan movies. I thought the Nolan movies were too dark themselves. And so I suspected if this was going to go darker than that, this wouldn't be good. Again, I'm sorry, I'm looking at the Riddler's green condom suit that he's wearing. What a ridiculous character. I'm sorry, I got to comment again on how Paul Dano as the Riddler. There's one scene at the end where he actually he talks to what you think is the Joker, because he surrenders. Because again, Paul Dano wins. He defeats the Batman. He has to surrender because Batman and Gotham PD are too goddamn stupid to find him on their own. They're that stupid. They're always a few steps behind. Batman doesn't display any particularly impressive high-level intellect. There's no Sherlock Holmes moment where Batman realizes, I got it figured out. Anybody who tells you that this movie highlights Batman's detective skills hasn't watched the movie or doesn't actually know what detective skills means, or maybe they should go read a Sherlock Holmes novel, because honest to God, this is an embarrassment. To have this movie dragged out as long as this one dragged out, and have Batman lose, and then to have the third act was awful. He ends up in Madison Square Garden on the roof, battling a bunch of no-name Riddler henchmen, barely holding his own. Terrible fight scenes, terrible choreography. Nothing worthy of the level of Batman here. I'm just absolutely stunned. I'm stunned that some people are singing the praises of this movie. I'm absolutely stunned. But hey, I'll tell you this. One thing I was really looking forward to was to see the car. Okay, the introduction of the car was pretty cool. It sounded like a screaming cat, and it was in the alley, and cinematography wise, I as I said before, there's great scenes. People are talking about, oh my God, they utilized the shadow. Batman utilized the shadows as a weapon. This wasn't a big deal. Batman was in the shadows. Batman wasn't even around, and the criminal element were scared that Batman was going to show up when they committed crimes. I never bought any of that. I never felt any of that. It was laughable. It really was. I didn't buy any of that. It was ridiculous. Even when the car suddenly popped on and the car was in the shadows. And then the Penguin was freaking out because the car was in the shadows. The guy just started his car, and something was clearly wrong with it because it sounded like a screeching cat. I'm sorry. So many things that people who love this movie say they love about this movie. I'm watching it and I'm thinking, am I on a different earth? I don't see what you see in this movie. What they literally think is great, I think is, are you kidding me? Anyways, I am an outlier on this. I know I'm putting this out there that, wow, this movie is so great. Well, okay, I didn't see it. I don't get it. Also, I should give a shout out there to one guy in particular. I don't like him as an actor, and I don't like him enough. Oh yes, this guy here to my left. Anyways, I hate him as an actor, and he plays Falcone in the movie. Took me out of the movie every time he showed up, and unfortunately, he was part of some major revelation. He was revealed to be ultimately Selina Kyle's father. He's a piece of work, but he's a bad actor. He acts the same in every movie he's in. Terrible casting, and I can't emphasize that enough. Terrible casting, and for him, why not give Penguin more of a role? Because at least Colin Farrell can act. Anyways, I had to give a shout out. Some things are so bad they cried out. Alfred was completely, in my view, misused. He never smiled. There wasn't even a meaningful relationship between Alfred and Bruce. I never even got a sense that Bruce cared for Alfred, to be honest, even when he was holding Alfred's hand in the hospital. There's so much about this movie that just never worked. This was terrible. This was just plain a bad movie. And I never felt the gravitas of it. I never felt it. This was depressing as hell. And in the end, let's not forget that the bad guy won. Batman lost. The people of Gotham City lost. And it ends with Batman actually suggesting that there's hope. There's no hope. And why would I want to watch a sequel to somebody who's this incompetent? I'm stunned. I'm absolutely stunned. But in any event, Kudos to you guys who've got the time, and you need time if you want to go see this movie twice. I'm not wasting my time. I'll wait till maybe this is on when it's on WB, whatever, or what's HBO Max, and I can fast forward it to the scenes that are actually relevant to the fight scenes that are, at least, on par with, I don't know. Honestly, every single Marvel Cinematic Universe, every Marvel movie has better fight scenes than all the fight scenes in this movie. Straight up. What a disappointment. It's a really, really, a huge disappointment. So much. There's so much that I could say just doesn't work for this movie. And the things that do work, I don't care about. Like, seriously, if I hear another person say, oh my God, the cinematography is so great. Look, that's like saying that, oh yeah, I love Rey and Star Wars. The sequels were so great, the special effects. I don't give a shit about the special effects. I don't give a shit about the cinematography. I don't care. Give me a good story. We got a subpar story here, and give me good action sequences. There was embarrassingly a little amount of detective work, not near enough that displays intelligence. And the action scenes were terrible, and a horrible message at the end. Absolutely horrible message at the end. And the message is good guys win. And it's the same message at the end of Spaceballs. Good will always lose because good is dumb. That's it. Anyways, this is an embarrassment to the Batman movies, and I guess I'll have to wait another 10 years for somebody to come along and ignore all this crap and to do it right. And that's about all I got to say about that. So without further ado, let me end this and go out sipping my Crown, I do believe.